Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTGO codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. They've got all you need. You can get yourself a 5% discount on your orders using that OmniPoke code as well. For today's video, we are going to be looking at an updated build of Arceus, Dialga and Palkia-GX. It's the archetype that did very well at Latin America. It had the most placements in Day 2. It got top 8 and top 4 in Masters. It won the Juniors division and got second in Seniors. So the archetype really put itself on the map. And from what we saw over the course of the weekend was the more defensive builds rising to the top and being the most successful. So even though I did profile a build that was heavily Ends Resolve and Dedenne focused at the beginning of the month, I figured it was worth giving an update to this list, just because it's very different in how it plays this way round, and it's it just plays like a different deck essentially, and I believe it's going to be going forward the way that you see the deck more often than not. So let's jump into the build into a bit more detail, starting off with 2 copies of our main attacker, Arceus, Dialga and Palkia-GX, 280 hit point dragon type, tag team with the Ultimate Ray and Altered Creation GX attacks. It's pretty much the lifeblood of the deck. It all runs off of this man. The Altered Creation giving us an extra 30 damage buff to all of our attacks from then on in the game, as well as allowing us to take additional prize cards in the game when you do take those knockouts, is absolutely insane. It's why this archetype is a big threat to non-GXs, where you can take 2 prizes and really put them on a clock every single turn. And it helps us knock out Dedennes very aggressively for 3 prize cards, and when we are able to knock out tag teams over the course of a couple of attacks, we can take 4 prize cards on them, and then we're very close to closing the game. So yeah, Altered Creation is what pretty much the lifeblood of this deck is all about. We also have that Ultimate Ray attack for Water, Metal, Colorless, so you can do 150, and search your deck for up to 3 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. We do have a bunch of different attackers in the deck, so this is obviously very versatile and strong, making sure that we don't run out of attackers, because ultimately, when you're not playing Ends Resolve, you're just turn attaching towards Altered Creation and then Ultimate Ray. So it's normally turn 3 when you're using your first Ultimate Ray. At that point, it's very easy for the ADP to go down, so making sure that we've attached to other attackers that can sort of help us progress through the game from then on is going to be very important. So yeah, Ultimate Ray is just a fantastic attack so that we can have backups ready to go when we need them, which is great. From there, we have one other tag team in Lucario and Melmetal. It obviously helps out against the Gardevoir and Sylveon GX matchup. You have good type coverage against them. Now, Guardian could easily be playing Weak Guard Energy because they play Tag Call and Guzma Hala and whatnot. But that said, Full Metal Wall GX is still very strong against them. It can remove a bunch of their energies, force them back into a spot where they're using Fairy Song, and also, of course, they can't Weak Guard everything. Oftentimes, they'll only play like 1 or 2 copies, even if they're playing any at all. And we can punish them with great catches and stuff as well, with heavy impact doing huge numbers. At the very worst, Luke Metal is basically the same damage output as ADP with heavy impact for 1 extra energy. So if you happen to prize one of your ADPs or whatever, having the Luke Metal as like a thing to power up is not as good as Ultimate Ray, of course, but still damage-wise relevant. So yeah, decent, I guess, for sure. From there, we have 2 Keldeo-GX. Pure Heart is an obviously annoying ability, preventing all effective attacks, including damage done to this guy by GXs, which is awesome. Sonic Edge does 110 or 140 after that ADP GX attack buff. So that's able to 2-shot tag teams, which is obviously very good. It's able to 1-shot a bunch of non-GXs, so Sonic Edge, very strong attack indeed. Resolute Blade GX is something that we won't often have the option to do, but there are some matchups where you have to, well, you're forced to avoid ADP, and in those situations, having that Resolute Blade available can be decent for a big burst of damage, doing 50 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon in play. It can definitely be a nice upgrade to Sonic Edge, and it means that sometimes, even without the ADP buff, you can 2-shot tag teams just by going Sonic Edge into Resolute Blade or vice versa. So that's obviously decent for you as well. From there, we have a bunch of supporting Pokemon. We'll start off with the 4 of Jirachi. Stellar Wish is obviously the biggest deal here, helping us get towards tag calls and supporters in those opening turns so we can make sure that we can get energies flowing onto our ADP. And in the mid to late game, it's going to be looking towards stamps and great catchers to help us close out the game on the opponents, or make it harder for them to close the game for us. So yeah, Stellar Wish is obviously very helpful in that regard. Then we have a bunch of one-offs. We have the one-off attacker in Drampa, Dragon Arcana, does 70 plus 70 more if you have 2 different energy types attached to yourself. So that's 140, enough to deal with non-GXs as a non-GX himself, but with that hidden buff of ADP, you can then knock out Keldeos, so it's very much a nice mirror match style card, as well as being able to knock out the Denes at the same time. So yeah, very decent there. 1 copy of Girafarig, Get Lost, is obviously a very strong attack against Mewtwo. Mewtwo is one of the more difficult matchups for this deck without the Giraffe, so having Get Lost in here can definitely deny your opponent a lot of outs to win the game. We can remove things like Greninja GX from the discard pile, we can remove the Charizards from the discard pile, and make it so they have no ways through Keldeo at all, so you can just Sonic Edge your way to victory, basically. So yeah, the Giraffe is very, very good at helping that otherwise very awkward Mewtwo matchup. Mewtwo just won, or sorry, it won Seniors, and it came second in Masters. So it's obviously an archetype that's on the radar, so having a Giraffe in here just means that all we need to do is not bench too many Pokemon for them to like snipe and whatnot, use your Giraffe, get rid of their Keldeo answers, and then just close the game with a spam of Sonic Edge, essentially. So yeah, Giraffe mainly in here for that Mewtwo matchup. It can come in handy in other like random matchups as well, but just mainly in here for Mewtwo. We have 1 Cryogonal and 1 Phione, both sort of feature in here to help out against controlling archetypes. Frozen Lock, obviously good for stopping Crushing Hammers, stopping Custom Catchers, stopping, what's it called, Pokedolls. So yeah, Cryogonal is very, very good for that. Frozen Lock doing essentially a Quaking Punch amount of damage, doing 40 for 1 energy with that ADP buff is enough to knock out those dolls and stop your opponent putting them down, so that's obviously very good. Now, there are some lists that will play things like Spiritomb to knock out this Cryogonal, so it's not just going to completely win you the game as a 1 copy. If you want to truly beat Pokedoll's stall where they have no way of winning, you can play 2 copies of this card. But I do think ADP putting the pressure on with that Alter Creation early on in the game can lower the clock to the point where only 1 Cryogonal can be enough. So if you do want to tech more for dolls, play a 2nd copy so that then your 2nd Cryogonal can finish off their Spiritomb when they knock out your 1st. But for now, I'm just going to play the 1 copy. In general matchups, this can come in handy as well. Just deny your opponent from using like Great Catcher to find means of getting game against you and stuff. It can buy you a turn to grab your own Great Catchers, for example, if like you whiff for whatever reason. So yeah. As I mentioned, Phione, another help against Pokedolls. This is very good against the Blown Birds, as well as, you know, defensive controlling archetypes. And just in general matchups, it's an extra pseudo-gusting effect that you can put on board pre-Reset Stamp to make them, you know, play their board quite differently and make them have not only tanky Pokemon in the active, but also on their bench. Otherwise, we can just Whirlpool Suction for the win. So, Phione, very good at being an extra means of like great catching in some certain circumstances. A bit less flexible, but still pretty usable for sure. And then we have 1 Absol, Dark Ambition, increasing the retreat cost of basics by 1. Very disruptive against non-GX. What am I talking about? Jirachi based builds. I was going to try and like work my way back around to Jirachi, but I was like, no, I'll just cut myself off. Jirachi builds is what we're focusing on. So that you make them have switches rather than escape boards as outs. Super important because oftentimes people use Guzma Hala to find their outs with the escape board. So you shut down tag calls, Guzma Hala, and physical escape boards all as outs. So they only have physical switches that they can use if they want to with Jirachi or Mallow Lana's. And that's a lot less for them. So it really does help. Because we are a slower list, of course we play No Ends Resolve, so it's really only turn 3 where we start putting damage into play. We want to slow down our opponent, especially if they are aggressive welder-based decks. I think with the combination of Absol, Swell, and Choice Helmets, your matchups to Mewtwo and Zard aren't the worst. But Absol definitely is one of those key factors to stop your opponent Stellar Wishing as much as they would like to. And at the same time, just make them find more pieces to be able to, you know, high roll ways of knocking out ADP before you get your own strat going. Also, of course, this is good in mirror matches, and again, forces more out of the opponent, means they can't just Guzma Hala their way towards moving their own Jirachi, so it hurts a bunch of outs for a lot of different decks, which is very cool. Also, at the same time, I should mention that this also limits your opponent's use of their own Mallow Lanas against you, because they need to combine their Mallow Lana switch effect with another switch effect a lot of the time, or they have to like pay retreat on top of Escape Board, and that can be very awkward. From there, we play a 1/1 line of Zebstrika. I like having this in the list. Sprint giving us a bit of extra defense against Reset Stamp, and at the same time, Pidgeotto Control should still be an archetype you should be respecting, in my opinion. So having Sprint on your side means that you can just get out of handlock situations and not have to worry about that matchup quite so much. Onto the trainer cards, playing a couple copies of Reset Stamp for defensive purposes. I could definitely see this going up to 3 because I do think it is important, and oftentimes your first ADP just goes down, right? You use Alter Creation, you tank a hit, you Ultimate Ray, then it's gone. So you're always basically sacking 3 prizes in your process to win the game, unless your opponent is completely bricking. So Reset Stamp is a core piece that you do look for heavily in the game, in that mid to late game where you're, well, not even mid game, like once you've used your first Ultimate Ray basically, ADP goes down, suddenly you're looking to Stellar Wish and do whatever else to try and find Reset Stamp, because they are key pieces. So I could definitely see you trying to wiggle in a 3rd copy. At the moment we're just at 2 though, but I do think it's a big part of the deck and helps us defensively close games, be it using like Keldeo and making the opponent find answers, or just using good old-fashioned tag teams, swinging and making it hard for them to recover their next attacker. 3 copies of Great Catcher. We love grinching Dedenne, man. Dedenne is so good for us to grinch with the ADP, the Drampa, even Luke Metal. Yeah, we love just Great Catching stuff up, knocking them out, and taking those easy prizes. And in general, we're predominantly a 2-shotting deck, so picking up things that we've previously damaged, obviously going to be helpful for us there as well. 3 copies of Pokémon. We play a bunch of 1-of Pokemon outside of our 2-of main attackers. So 16 total does give us reasonable odds for using these comms in those opening turns to get, attaching to an ADP. But at the same time, getting into the Zebra line or getting into, the Giraffe or whatever else, the Absol early in those turns where they're helpful, and Jirachis in general. Comm is just a very flexible, useful card in general. 4 Switch and 1 Escape Board to help pivot our Jirachi for the most part. I'm preferring the higher switch count to, like a 3-2 split, just because I'm expecting Absol to be in other lists, and some ADP lists even play 2 copies of Absol. So playing the full physical switch makes the most sense to me. Also, it means if you start a chunky retreater like Luke Metal or Keldeo, we can still switch into ADP turn 2 quite happily. 4 Tag Call, because Tag Call is a big part of our draw engine, as well as our main attackers are tag callable. So it gives us a lot of great outs to find ADP specifically in those opening turns, so we can get manual attachments onto that guy straight away. For stadiums, 3 Swell, we know how awesome this is. Gets rid of Hearths, Prism Star stadiums, Power Plants for Keldeo, all sorts of different things, and just stops the opponent getting their main strategies off, which is obviously very good for you. We have 1 copy of Bill's Analysis. It's just one of those cards. I feel like this deck is very similar to Pikarom in that once you've Ultimate Raid, you've basically thinned a lot of energies out of your deck. So really all that's left is like a handful of Pokemon that you haven't put into play, and then just targets for the Bills. So that can help you grab stamps, Great Catchers, switches, all that sort of stuff, which is obviously a priority. Even as 1 copy, it feels like we can Cynthia Caitlin him back, which again, great stamp proofing, great extra outs out of Stellar Wish. So this Bills is just phenomenal. 1 copy of Guzma Hala. It gets us into a means of switching a Jirachi or any of our other 1 retreat Pokemon. We have a bunch. As well as getting towards one of these unit energies to guarantee that Alter Creation on turn 2, and at the same time it can help us grab Swell for disruption, and when we're up against things like Mewtwo, you can grab that helmet, so you're a bit less vulnerable to them just Great Catchering and destroying you straight out the gate. So Guzma Hala very good in a defensive sense, and can help us greatly with the outs that we need to get an Alter Creation off early. We then have 2 of Mallow Lana for a nice healing effect, as well as switching, which has synergy with Stellar Wish. 2 copies of Cynthia Caitlin. It can reload things like Mallow Lana and like Bill's Analysis and even regular Cynthia's, at the same time helping us dig a little bit deeper into the deck. And then we have 4 copies of Cynthia just for some reasonable shuffle draw to help us out throughout the entire game. I mentioned Choice Helmet for that 300 damage, sort of protection against Mewtwo. That's the biggest reason. Make them go ahead and grab all 6 energies and use Reshizard instead of just the Hidden Fate Zard. Force a lot more out of them, especially when you're swelling and stopping them using Hearth and stuff. It's actually a lot to ask for. So that's obviously a big deal, and it helps again alongside the tank ability with Mallow Lana and whatnot. So yeah, overall Choice Helmet can definitely keep you out of range of different attacks, which is great. The board, mainly for the Jirachi. We're playing 2 copies of the unit energies, 1 with the metal side, 1 with the water. I prefer this to playing Rainbow, because Rainbow undoes the help that Choice Helmet does, specifically against Mewtwo. So I'm playing the units just because I respect Mewtwo enough, even with the Girafarig in the deck. But if you want to just play Rainbow, you definitely can go for that as well. It's pretty much fine against everything that isn't Mewtwo. And then we just play 5 Metal and 6 Water. We want to have more Waters because Sonic Edge and Resolute Blade both require 2, whereas every other attack requires the 1. And Luke Metal, although it does require 2 metals, is you know, like far from ideal and only used in like 1 matchup. So yeah, overall we want to play the 1 extra Water as opposed to the Metal. In terms of other cards you could be playing, I think fiddling around with counts sounds very reasonable. If you want to increase or decrease the Zebra line, that's something you could go for. If you want to increase that Absol line, I've already mentioned the second Cryogonal for the Pokédoll deck. I've also thought about dropping Luke Metal, because I'm imagining Guardian to play weak guards, but at the same time I do think that the matchup is a pain without this. It's basically you just trying to use Keldeo Swell combo the entire game. And hoping that like Reset Stamp stop them grabbing like Faber Plants plays, which is pretty slow, especially because they have a bunch of healing their own end. It's a lot of turns that you have to like avoid as the Keldeo player. So the Luke Metal just makes it a lot easier in general. But I would really appreciate a third ADP in the deck, to be honest, just because it's more outs on those only turns to get attaching onto him, and also if you prize one, it's sometimes a little annoying because there are situations where Ultimate Raying into your next Ultimate Ray is the best move for you. So yeah, I think a third ADP is something I've definitely had in here. I've flip-flopped around with this card, to be honest, and seen how it goes. Mega Low Puff is also one you could consider just for some extra damage modification, because we are pretty two-shot reliant. In the same vein, Misty Lorelei could be considered, just because it can, again, give you some good burst output with that secondary effect with your Keldeo being able to use its GX attack again, which is pretty crazy. And it has a similar effect to Guzma Hala in those opening turns where it can just access water energies if you want to use the primary effect, just to make sure you get attachments down, which isn't the worst option, I guess, when this deck is very content to just use regular attachments from hand in those opening turns. Also, you can think about Dedenne. I'm currently not playing it because I feel like it's too easy prizes to give to your opponent and really stops the mentality of this list, because there's not really much we need to dig for unless it's a late game dig to try and find catch of a game, basically. So I feel Zebra fills that role a little bit better. But if you want to buy yourself a space, 1 copy of Dedenne wouldn't be the worst thing in the world in here at all. There's also the spicy option of Cyrus Prism Star that you could consider. Cyrus can really help out against Pidgeotto Blacephalon, which is a matchup that's becoming kind of more difficult when you don't play End's Resolve, and just because it's becoming more mainstream. Cyrus Stamp can just really help out against a bunch of setup-based decks, but the Birdbound specifically can really struggle against that. And whenever you're up against non-GX decks, if you just let the Stamp stick for 1 turn, that's basically like you took 4 prizes off of the Stamp working for a turn. So yeah, it's pretty insane. It can sometimes be an absolute game winner. Obviously it synergizes with Keldeo or Jirachi being active, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, that's going to be the list. We will jump into some games now and yeah, see how ADP goes. I've kind of been having mixed results with the deck. I do feel like it's very strong. I've been playing around with a few different things on stream with the list. I've tried Zebra as like a 2/2. I've tried no Zebra. That's mainly the spaces that I've been playing around with, and then like those flexi spots become additional Absol or additional supporters, stuff like that. Is kind of where I've been playing around with the list. Right now, my major wants are a third ADP. It's quite simple that I just want to see that guy turn 1, and giving yourself extra outs towards that is definitely cool. No problem with it this time though. We have Com in hand already. We have a nice Jirachi attachment and Cynthia as well, so the hand's looking pretty solid right now. And we'll see what we're up against. I see a Latios GX now. Clear Vision GX is a very annoying GX attack, of course, because Ultra Creation is such a big deal for us that it getting shut down is a real pain. So we'll see what we're up against. This could indicate Malamar. It could also indicate Mewtwo more likely. We see a tag call, so it's definitely more likely to be a Mewtwo right now. So some things we're going to try and develop as quickly as possible. Things like Swell, things like Choice Helmet, things like Absol. Those are big pieces for us to try and find as soon as possible. Looks like our opponent's going to have a look through, see what they want to grab. Guzma Hala and Lopuff are their first targets here. Okay. The Lopuff might just be fodder. Yep, it's going to be Fire and a Lopuff that hits the bin straight away. Excuse me for the yawning, it is pretty late right now. They're going to go ahead and Rainbow Energy their Mewtwo and send it our way. Okay. Alright, as good as Com for ADP attach is, I feel like I want to Stellar Wish first because it could get me towards Tag Call, which would be even better. Okay, see? Even better. Why settle for Pokecom? This way I could use the Com on Absol now, which would be pretty sweet for trying to slow our opponent down if everything's going good here. Absol's in the deck, Giraffe is in the deck as well. Both our Keldeos, both our Stamps, all three Swells, that's great. So, helmets. Escape Board is in hand, that's fine. So I can get rid of Luke Metal and Great Catcher with the Guzma Hala here. And that can get me the wrong Unit Energy. But it can get me Choice Helmet and it can get me Swell. So I think it's just about good enough. Then I can calm the Absol. So we'll put our helmet on, we'll unit, we'll Swell. Now, is it better for me to grab Absol here or guarantee a backup Jirachi? I think the Absol's better. Alright, we'll chill there. We've assembled the triad of disruption. Well, at least like the anti-aggro tools all on turn one, which is cool. Swell, Helm, Absol, all developed on one. The opponent was not able to capitalize before the Swell came down. So hopefully... Oh, the Stealthy Hood on the Latios gets around Absol, which is pretty cool. He's guaranteed to have free retreat. Broken. We see no Welder though, we just see a Cynthia Caitlin. Gets rid of a Mewtwo. Getting back that Guzma Hala. Let's see what else our opponent can do here. No Welder for the opening 2 turns is obviously not great for them. He could just retreat and Clear Vision. Would make me quite sad. That said, in this matchup, we don't mind going pure Keldeo. Alright, they're not going to Clear Vision us. is great news. I don't mind putting down Drampa here as a potential option to Ultimate Ray onto on future turns. Let's see if we can get a Water Energy. We can. That's great news. And with a helmet, I feel confident enough to Alter Creation here. See a fire from hand. We see the Swell gobble up the first of many hearths. See a Mallow Lana. He should have been able to switch there. Maybe he just didn't remember. We'll see. Alright, Water Energy hits the bin. So that tells us that Greninja is his answer to Keldeo. Unsurprisingly. And we are just going to see a Tag Purge here for 90. So Mallow Lana is definitely a decent pickup here. That said, Great Catcher on two things can just be game. So I don't mind an aggressive approach here. I could still Mallow Lana. I could go Mallow Lana these two away. Great Catcher the Swells away. But I wouldn't have much draw potential, so I think I just want to switch into Jirachi to kick things off here. Try and find a good supporter to get us a few more cards to help us along with this aggro route that we're going to try and take here. Swell down, that down. So when the defensive options buy you turns, you can then turn on the pressure. And that's what we're going to try and do here. So this deck, you can see the flexibility of the deck. If the defensive tools work, you can be the aggressor. If you don't assemble the defensive tools and the opponent has slightly better opening turns, like if their Mewtwo killed ADP before we got Ultimate Ray off, for example, it's then down to us to be like, okay, we're just going to limit our board to non-GXs and Keldeos, and we're going to try and make them get their Greninja in the discard pile, then we're going to Lost Zone that Greninja with Get Lost, and then Keldeo can spam through the game. So this matchup could have gone two different ways. If our opponent's opening turns were stronger, we would have played a much more defensive, long-term game plan. But based on the defensive pieces working for us this time around, we can play more aggressively and just try and Great Catcher for game now. And just get an extra energy down. Swell gets gobbled up. Get a change from them. See a Cherish Ball. Turtonator being put down does play around Whirlpool Suction quite well, otherwise it would just be game. They're going to grab Charizard. They're also going to tag call. For a couple more tag teams, sounds good. See Guzma Hala to get rid of some of these. Definitely the 300 damage Charizard's got to hit the bin. Oh no, he's going to Flare Strike. Okay, cool. Flare Strike does enough. See that Rainbow in half. So 3 Rainbow Energies in their list. And Water. Yeah. Wild. Okay. In some ways, we prefer him to take a knockout here. Because it opens up Stellar Wish for us to just win the game. Just confirming it was Flare Strike that he used. Find a Keldeo, which is by no means bad. We'll start off with the Wish here. Swell is interesting, but Tackle has to be better here. Toss away ADP. More Jirachis. Stamp them. So we don't insta-win, but we're trying to develop a solid board. Oh man, Puffy Smashes GX is actually super scary here. Puffy Smashes kind of wrecks. Maybe I should have Phioned him. Maybe I could still Phione him. I mean, he has free retreat on this, right? So it doesn't make sense. Oh man, Puffy Smashes is actually going to be super rough for us here. So the fact that we had to attach to Drampa rather than anything else is going to hurt us a lot. Also the fact that we got no attachment is going to hurt us a lot. They can Cherish Ball here. I'm sure they have to Denes. Yeah, this Puffy Smashes is going to destroy us. So the tide of the game is kind of changing now. My biggest hope is that if he does go for Puffy Smashes, that he also gets a Naga in his discard pile so that I can Lost Zone it. Wow, he plays 4 rainbows. Wow. Oh no, at least 3. At least 3. Okay, more Cherishables from them. Speedio. Well, that's even better than Smashes. And that means I can't Lost Zone the Greninja either. So you can kill Drampa Blitzle here. Looks like the stamp could have been better. The game would basically be sealed if we were able to attach to anything but the Drampa. That's the thing that sucks. If this was a Keldeo or an ADP, we would just basically win the game, because even if he used an attack to get rid of like Blitzle here, we'd have Stellar Wish Cynthia into a 20-odd card deck. It's a real shame, especially for how slow their start was. It feels like we should have capitalized on this way better. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna draw this. Draw no energies again, which really sucks in terms of how long it's going to take us to try and close this game. How many switching cards have they played? 1 Mallow Lana, 1 switch. Well, they can very easily find a Naga just to close the game at any point anyway now. Do I... yeah, I just gotta pass. Yeah, the game was ours to lose, basically. Firstly, it was the wrong target for Altered Creation or whatever, and then secondly, the stamp just got them into very, very good cards. Which, you know, it's only a stamp to 3, so it's not super high roll from them, but it's not great for us either. Alright, we need to get attach energies, so I'm gonna just do this. We're in a bad spot right now. That's for sure. It's our last great catch as well, so I think we still have to play it. We know they have Mallow Lanas and stuff, but we're just gonna make them play it, right? There's a Jirachi. That's an unimpactful card. Tag Cool. Just gonna choose to fail it. See a Welder. Obviously Turtonade's a threat as well. Obviously. Alright, let's put on SPDO. If we could buy a turn here, that would be magic. Both our stamps have been played, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He does play 4 rainbows. 9, 10, 11, 12, but the board is there. Well, it's going to be another 130 here. So I literally need to draw Mallow Lana as a top deck, or I lose. Yep, that'll do it. Alright, we're gonna have to concede there, unfortunately. I want to watch that game back, because I don't know if I was wrong to go hyper-aggressive route with my Great Catcher. I don't know. It didn't feel too wrong. Especially when they play Mallow Lanas and such. But instead of Great Catching that turn, I could have Mallow Lana'd myself and made him use his Jet's attack elsewhere. And then I wouldn't ever be wrecked by an SBDO in spots like that. Maybe it was better to be defensive the turn I Great Catchered instead. We'll see, we'll see. Mewtwo is still a challenging matchup for sure. Alright, we'll get another game in. Let's go first here, which is always good. We have Tag Call Energy, which is all you ever hope for as this deck, to be perfectly honest. We're going to grab the Guzma Hala just for guaranteed. Turn 2 GX attack. And a Stellar Wish first, I think. No. Let's do this stuff first. Oops. Pokemon, not a great card, but it does give us a lot of outs. In a mirror, I feel like just putting this down is fine. It's one of those cards that just means he doesn't have as many insta-players now. They're going to kick off with their own Pokémon here. Oh, it's not a mirror. It's going to be the Pipstoise Quag Valley deck. And in typical Quag Valley fashion, they're bricking. Cynthia seems fine here. I don't think I need to play it this turn. I can play it next turn. Just GX here. More Type Null coming down. See that red and blue right now. Oh, they actually toss away a Mallow Lana, which is very good for us. Wow, they're actually going to grab the pivot Silvally, so they can move this Keldeo and actually get a Turbo Drive off on us if they want to. But they're not going to, okay. I'm going to play Switch here first. I'm thinking of comming if I want to go for a attack target, or if I want to go for a Phione here. I think Phione looks pretty good. I think I want to keep the Great Catcher in hand. So I'll use Cynthia Caitlin this turn rather than just regular Cynthia. So here's the choice of giving us a free prize or us just trying to attack his energies straight away. A free 2 prizes, I should say. He's gonna give us the Silvally GX to smack into. Power up our next ADP. They can evolve into the Disc Reload Silvally now. See what else they can really come up with. They're really lacking a lot right now. They've kind of been bricking. Not many options look very good here. Well, Mallow Lana's something. I mean, even with the heal, I just Great Catcher kill it anyway. So the heal's not actually relevant right now. He may be doing it just to discard cards for future disc reloads, though. He could even do it so he has energy to attach with Turbo Strike. So he can just retreat Keldeo. But no, he's just going to pass. Okay. Alright. I'll take all the energy off the board. I think that sounds good, especially when I'm taking 3 prizes at the same time. And then we'll just Cynthia. We even find a Keldeo, which is perfect, so I can start smacking his Keldeo with mine. Alright. Let's get the Keldeo ready to go, and I'll just thin the last energy out of the deck as well. We'll take 3. And our opponent's got a long way to come back now. A really long way. Well, they're going to kickstart their comeback with an attachment to the active, a disc reload. Also an Acrobike. Very exciting times. I'm yet to profile this red and blue Quagsire based deck, and that's mainly because I tried 3 games with it on the ladder and hated it. Alright, Cynthia Caitlin gets them some more draw, gets them back into Mallow Lana. What else can they do here? Reset whole Marshadow comes down. Well, they're taking their time with their decisions, that's for sure. The Marshadow coming down is actually pretty good for them, otherwise I was going to con for Phione and just force the Sylvally up for a 2-shot. They're actually in a great catch at us here. For some reason. Not super sure why they're doing this. But they're doing it. They're bringing up our Keldeo, and they're just passing. Okay. We actually draw Phione. I'm just gonna take a pretty quick turn. We know they have Mallow Lana in hand, but I still think this is fine. Like, if they're spending their turn Mallow Lana-ing, they're just doing another manual attachment, and that's chill. If they're just going to Mallow Lana, like, into the Marshadow and pass, I can Phione. There's going to be that Mallow Lana. Disc reload for a bunch of cards. You can get an attachment down. It's not a totally terrible turn. Acrobike as well for a bit of a further push. Gets rid of their own swell. Looks like they want protection from power plants, which is definitely reasonable. Same reasons why we do. Alright, they really are taking a long time. Alright, they have an attachment. Very good. They're getting there. They're doing the business. Alright. Phione is very strong here. We put the Keldeo 10 away from a KO. If they Mallow Lana again, we can great catch her. If they try anything else, we have Slap. Never forget Slap. I'm super tired, by the way, because I've had more microphone issues. I've gone back to my very old Snowball mic, my blue Snowball, after the Yeti has decided to die on me during my stream. So I've had to re-record like a couple times. That's why I'm really tired, because it's like 2 in the morning right now. They've got themselves a Wooper. Very good. They did it. Oh dear. I really would appreciate if they picked up the pace. Jeez. Just lose with dignity. Oh, it's so broken. He's got it all. Big decisions coming in now, boys. Huge plays. Absolutely huge plays. Oh, yes. I'll just cheer myself up with some artwork appreciation. This man's got rainbows. Rainbows for days. Alright, it's a big retreat into the Pipstoys. We all knew this would happen. And we just instantly win. Alright, there we go. We'll get one more game in. And then we will call it a very late night. So yeah, ADP is one of these decks where I feel like the slow build definitely can be punished by a lot of things, but at the same time, the defensive options are just so solid for it that I can't ever hate it, you know? Get to go first, which is always nice. Well, looks like we're hoping for a good Stellar Wish here. Some mulligans would be appreciated. None coming. Looks like we're up against Guardian. Not ideal. We got a Cynthia Caitlin to try and get us towards glory. What do I want to get rid of here? Really don't want to get rid of much at all. I think I got to get rid of Great Catcher. Okay, we get into a Pokemon. Very good. Now, question is, do I want to roll the dice and just try and Celosh again for tag call and feel great about myself? Or do I just go for the easier play? Or the more often correct play, which is just grab Luke Metal. And I think I've got my answer. We'll start powering him up. Next turn I can be doing Steel Fist for 100. Or I could GX attack on him depending on what his turn looks like. Let's see if our opponent is playing weak guards, and if so, how many? That's the second question. I feel like Guardian pretty much does have to play weak guards in this day and age. Because the Luke Metal is such a pain. Yep, exactly, they're going to go Guzma Hala straight away. Get rid of Colored Charms. I'm sure, no doubt, there's going to be a weak guard coming out of this. Yep. As well as Swell and Helmet. They're going to Fairy the active. I actually really like that choice as well. And they're going to go for Fairy Song here. See a Drampa. That's not ideal. Cynthia looks better, or is Tackle the best option here? Tackle's probably still the best option. I want to get my own choice helmet. It's just this. Helmet can go down, energy can go down. Switch seems good. Now, do I want to stamp away a weak guard energy, is my question to myself. Stamping away a weak guard. Their hand size is only 4. We know they tag called. What was the thing they tag called for other than the... Cynthia Caitlin. That doesn't sound strong enough. I think I just Steel Fist here. Get an energy on board. And we'll see what the opponent wants to do here. They actually do have greens. Gonna grab a switch and tackle. I see that switch now. And they're going to go for Kaleidostorm. Okay. Okay, they're going for the old 3-and-1, huh? Interesting indeed. Well, we're going to start with the Mallow Lana, for sure. We can Wish. This is good. Oh, Great Catch is actually pretty insane here. Great Catch is absolutely insane. We'll go to 3 random cards in hand, but it's just so good here, right? So good here. Because he's basically forced to go for a... Yeah, they just concede. They just conceded instantly. Luke Metal, even with weak gut energy, you know, they can only Guzma Hala once a turn, right? And they always have to attach to other fairy guys, or they have to attach to low puff and it's doing like 120 or less because of the GX attack and because of the helmet, so... Yeah, we had some long and some short games there, guys, but I think that's me done for the day because my brain's starting to melt, so... Yeah, let me know what you guys think about the defensive list. Let me know where I went wrong in the Mewtwo game as well. I'm sure I must have made a mistake to lose that game at some point. Let me know what you think about Zebra. We didn't really get to see it in action much, but I've been going up and down in terms of the line that I've had it in, so I think I'm really valuing it high because I've tried a 2-2 line, and when you get a 2-2 line, it comes into play a lot more often, and then it's just like won me games a lot, so maybe it's not worth as a 1-1, maybe I should just play other cards, but I'll hear your thoughts down below about the archetype. Do you like it as a slow build? Do you feel like a couple end resolve are still required in the list? Yeah, I'll field your comments down there. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Thanks.